the amendments on the table early enough for us to consider them, but we have, I think, worked through the amendments that Councillor Johansson has raised, and so I propose that we just go through them one by one, and then we can deal with the block. But although what I should do is just deal with number 1 first. So the first one is that we receive, or shall I deal with the amendments first? Because we've got to go back to. No, we've got to consider the amendments first, and then we resume standing orders. That right? Okay. So could we have Councillor Johansson's amendments up, and I will propose an alternative way with dealing with some of them, and if that is acceptable, they can just be written into the main amendments. So sorry, I'll just try and find them. Here they are. So the first one is in relation to
his specific
the adult swim.
his sexual ones, yeah.
Sorry?
His specific amendments.
Did you send them through to the? Yeah. Okay, now the first one, which are a number of amendments in relation to they're swimming pool entry fees and indoor court fees for community use, so that's in relation to our recreational facilities. It's my suggestion that rather than accept something that would put 0.14% on rates and take us over the 5%, my suggestion is that we request that further work be done on entry fees for swimming pools and recreational facility hire, recreational facility court hire, by the end of October, and that will enable the incoming council to consider whether they wish to adjust the swimming fees before summer, and it enables a proper consideration of the impact of the court hire charges. So if that's acceptable to you, Councillor Johansson, then I will add that as a recommendation 3 under fees and charges swimming pools.
Can I just ask a clarification of staff? Are we actually able to make changes to the fees and charges outside of the annual plan process?
It would have to come through a resolution and amendment.
But would it need to go through a separate SCP to consult with the community?
To reduce charges? I don't think so.
We'll just confirm.
Mr. Thompson.
I think
Timing's everything.
through the annual plan process.
Mr. Thompson.
This seems familiar.
Here's one we prepared earlier.
This seems familiar.
Question is if we reviewed entry fees and charges, perhaps in October, would we be able to amend them during the year?
Yes.
Yes.
Swimming pool.
Without
entry fees.
without any consultation.
You'll have to go through a process, I think. Yes.
Yeah, but we were reducing them.
Depending on how significant that decision is, I think you would look at consulting with people who might be interested in or affected by the decision, by way of good process.
So
if it was likely to be reduced.
So do you think we'd need to go through an SCP to do an amendment to the annual plan fees and charges?
We'll just call it indoor court hire and get rid of the recreation.
No, I don't think so. Now, that's without the information in front of me, but no, I don't think. I think you would be able to comply with section 82, the consultation principles, without doing a special consultative procedure, but I don't take that as gospel.
And we'd be able to bring the fees in from the date at which that report came in. So if it came back on October 1st, we could establish those fees
No,
from
this
that
will
date.
be at the end of October.
Okay, well, December 1st.
Yeah, we could bring
But the
them
principle
in.
is we could establish the fees from the date of that report coming back, not at the next financial.
I don't, off the top of my head, I don't see any reason why not, but I see Ms Brandish looming.
We're all racing up now.
So, forget anything that I've said.
I see Miss Brandish looming. I think that's going to have to go down as the statement of the day.
We'll see whether we've got the same comments. So Ian's commenting on the legal ability to introduce it. Obviously what it would do is would change the expected revenue within the budget line, so that there would be a gap to budget from any change, assuming that change led to something in the same order as currently proposed.
What were you going to say?
But it could give an opportunity to organise a trade-off thing where you might save some money somewhere else. So it would avoid an impact on the rates.
It would if we didn't already have plenty of savings to achieve within the budget.
Well, you might get more people going, which creates more revenue.
It also puts up costs. Yeah, operating costs.
So that decisions on fees and charges can be made in the 2016-17 year. I mean, the thing is that I would feel a lot more comfortable having been through quite an extensive process on this, rather than take our rates increase, our average rates increase over the 5%. I'd rather actually that we got some more work done on it and not form a view about what that final position will be until we've got the detailed analysis of what the trade-offs could be, because I'm sure there are savings within that budget that could be applied in this area. And I was very mindful of the fact that the DHB did make a strong recommendation on swimming pool charges, and obviously from a health perspective and wanting to work in a collaborative way with the health sector as well as with central government, I think it's probably something that we'd want to take some further advice on from them as well.
So I think
Yeah.
the other thing is the indoor court fees. So, I mean, I'm just really mindful, if you think of Te Hapua, how cheap it is to rent that. We've had the sporting groups come and say through the submissions that they're concerned at the increase and the impact that that has on people.
Yeah, but it says that here, got indoor court fees as well.
Yeah, but the fees are going to go up, right? So, and then we're going to consider reducing them later. I just wondered whether we could do it ahead of October, why we have to wait till the end of October. That's all.
I think we just need a very good report on it, because if it's our operational costs going up, we do have to get a balance to keep within that 5%, and I really want to see the information, because courts in a sense are easy. You've got so many courts that can only be hired out for a certain period of time, so you've got a maximum rental. But there's also the extra OPEX with that when you're dealing with that. Pools are the same, but a lot more fluid, if you like. But I think a full report would be really important to make that decision.
Yep, I agree. Andrew?
Can I make a suggested changing to the wording just around the date? Because I think the intention would be that the report come back to council by the end of October, which would allow a decision to be made before the opening of the summer pools. Yeah. So request that further work is done on swimming pool entry fees and indoor court hire fees, and this be reported back to council by the end of October 2016. Because that would allow us to make a decision at the last council meeting in October, which allows any changes that are decided at that meeting to be implemented for the summer pools.
There may not be a meeting in October or November. I mean, the council has to get sworn in. They have to wait for special. I mean, you could be looking at December before you make a decision. That's why I was trying to think it would be better to.
Well, I need a report to weigh it all up. That's all.
That's cool. If you guys want a report, I'm happy for that.
Yeah.
I do think. I mean, we did get some initial advice on it, but I still think there's a major issue in our community around we don't have a complete old system at the moment. We have a huge pressure on our indoor space, but we also need to make sure that it's affordable for those groups to use.
Well, why are we doing this at the last minute?
I know.
Yeah,
Look, all I'm doing,
workshop.
and all I'm doing is rewarding bad behaviour. So there we go. The next one is that enable be added to the council strategic asset list, and my recommendation here is that we add in a request to the chief executive's list of requests, which is somewhere. Where is it? That one. Right, here it is. Put at the bottom that prepare advice on whether council shareholding in Enable should be added to the strategic assets list. So that we're asking the chief executive to report back on that, rather than take a last minute amendment on that without a report and without any advice from our officers as to the impact of that decision. And yeah, so that's that one. So if you're good with that, then we can do that. If you're not good with that, then we'll have a vote on it.
Yeah, I think if you just add in a report back.
Oh, please advise, prepare advice on whether it should be added to the street and report back by the end of 2016.
Well,
There's work going on at the moment, Yanni, and you know perfectly well because you're sitting on the CCHL board, and I'd just rather leave it like that at the moment, if that's all right.
Oh, thank you. I have a question over this, over whether, kind of on the counter to it, was advice along the same lines ever taken when certain assets were removed from the strategic assets list?
Consulted on it last year in the long-term plan.
We consulted on assets full stop, but we didn't actually consult, when it came down to it, on taking certain assets off the strategic.
Yes, we did. That was the particular focus of the long-term plan, public engagement. The consultation document made it crystal clear that the majority of us felt that there had to be a discussion about what was strategic and what was not. There was a whole element in the consultation document says what's strategic, what's not, and in fact it even had the reference to the some of the report that we had done on what made an asset strategic and what made it not strategic. So that was the whole purpose of the engagement.
When it actually came down to it, it just came down to a straight out vote. Do you want to take these off or not? We didn't go down this path of asking for a report,
but the
which
thing
is the other side of the equation.
Yeah, I know that, but one of your colleagues has moved an amendment, and I'm asking whether this is sufficient to deal with the amendment. And is that sufficient for you, Yanni?
So can I just check on the point that was made? Because, okay, you want more advice. A submitter made a submission. So what was the staff advice back to that submitter on that submission?
That we consulted on it in the LTP and took it off the strategic asset list.
No, so the submitter through this process said, could you relist it as a strategic asset? So we would have had some advice back. I can't find it in the stuff that we got sent around it, but I presume there would have been some advice around it.
The advice would have been simply that we consulted on it just last year, and we didn't indicate in the consultation document this time that we were going to amend it.
Right.
In fact, we had no amendments to our strategic asset list as part of our proposed amendments that we went and consulted on.
No, that's fine, but people can suggest that we put things back. I mean, that's part of the democratic process.
They
So
also suggested we take.
all I'm saying is it
Yeah,
would be
I
good
know.
to have some advice to go back to that submitter over
No, we didn't.
what's happened. But that's fine. I'm happy to get advice back on it, and if people feel more comfortable doing that, then I think that's sensible. I don't think it needs to wait to the end of 2016, but if you want that just as a safeguard, that's fine.
Yeah,
I think it is important that we do get advice back on it, and that we do consider it as a strategic asset, and based on the submissions that we've heard, I'm happy for us to
Yeah.
set up a process that does that.
Thank you. Now, the next one we don't have agreement on at all, so I'm simply going to put it to a vote, that Lancaster Park be added to the council's strategic asset list. So those who are in, it's probably easier if we just have a hand vote, yeah?
Sorry, can we just be clear what it is? Is it the ground of Lancaster Park? Is it the field upon, which the sports
It's the
were played?
area known as Lancaster Park.
Is it the buildings that are
It's what we
contained?
own at Lancaster Park be added to the council's strategic asset list. So it's the land and the building.
Including the structures
Including
on
the
it.
buildings which are
I'm
marked.
actually really uncomfortable where she...
Look, I can't stop an amendment. It's been moved, and I'm hoping, my recommendation is that we vote against it. That's my recommendation to the meeting. So those who are in favour of adding Lancaster Park in its presented form to the council's strategic asset list, because they think it's a strategic asset, put up your hand. Those opposed? Abstentions.
I'm abstaining.
Thank you. That's lost. That Ashmore Street be added to the street renewal program for the 2016-17 financial year. Do we want a comment on that from staff?
Staff have been out to have a look at Ashmore Street, and it wouldn't actually hit on the high priority of lists of other streets that you would get. So if you decided that way, basically it would bump another job up. But basically, looking at that and the condition of those roads, but we've got a lot of roads out there with deep dish channels, we've got a lot of roads that are widened. So basically, it would mean we would bump out something that we considered had a higher priority.
So I thought that we'd taken renewals off the agenda for the priority to be given to earthquake damage.
And that budget is where it's going, and that doesn't, I've been doing that, so it doesn't have earthquake.
And Ashmore Street's had its earthquake damage repaired, is that correct?
Yeah, that's the issue. It's got 4 different types of curb and channel. It floods and it's stagnant for
Yep.
mosquitoes.
So I'm not going to take any debate on it because
we've all got streets
we've
like
all
this.
got
I was
streets
just gonna
like
say
this.
that. Dozens and some
Now, okay,
So the question, I just wanted to ask a question.
No, I want you to move that.
Well, I'm happy to move it.
Who seconds it? It's failed for the want of a seconder. Thank
So
you.
can I just
No,
have a question on the curb and channel one?
No, you can't because that's dealt with now.
Well, why can't we ask questions?
No, we've just dealt with your amendment. Look, Yanni, we are in this position because everyone agreed to submit their amendments on Friday and at the very latest yesterday. You have put these amendments on the table at the last minute.
This was put on
Now, the
as part of the
standing
draft
orders,
thing.
the standing orders require me to accept your amendments, but you really have let down the entire team today by doing this. And it could have been dealt with as a proper part of the process, but you have chosen to do it your way. That's fine. I'm dealing with it. So now we move on to Linwood Woolston Pool, and the proposal here is rather than putting money on the budget before we've got a site selection completed, that we pass a resolution as part of the standard amendments that is a matter of priority, the high-level scope and site selection, including community consultation, will be completed by the end of the calendar year and a report provided to council for bringing forward funding for the project.
Move it.
No. If this is acceptable, it will become part of the standard amendment.
What effect does this have on our budgets and on?
This doesn't have an effect on our budget because the work program deals with the high-level scope and site selection process to be commenced now.
So
is
there
that
are no
right,
financial
David?
considerations?
David can.
The real issue is the resources available to do it is the real issue, and we've got the metro in that area, we've got the southwest, so it's actually getting that resources to deliver that, I think, and look, maybe we've got people from REC, it would have to go externally.
We haven't got capacity to do that by the end of the calendar year.
So there is not capacity.
This year, we haven't got capacity to do that. We're having a consultation on this. So we need to.
We don't need to do it all.
Or extra budget.
But we don't need to do
Do it as well as the Southeast, but you're not taking our place.
Well, sorry, that's the opposite of what Dave's just told us, so.
Well, Dave can talk about the rebuild side, we're talking about the operational side and the consultation and the side. So we need to bring in more capacity to be able to do that from the operational side.
Can I ask a question? Please. What is the money that's already allocated there for now? It's around 40?
49,000.
So what's that actually tagged for?
That's right.
Is that for consultation and scope and site?
The advice that I've got is that we are trying to work through a high-level scope document to decide what it is, and then that would then be able to say, then you can select a variety of sites.
So you're already doing
Sorry.
a high-level scope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't got the high-level scope together.
No, but you're undertaking it currently.
And you've got the funding for that?
Basically, it'll come from Sport and Rec, and when I say Sport and Rec are involved fully in the Metro in the short term, or probably a bit longer than that, so I'm not sure.
Oh, we can't do this on the hoof.
No, but there's already money there. I want to know what it's for exactly.
So not by the calendar year. It's too much pressure on RSU and having the capacity to do that and the consultation by the calendar.
Yeah, I think we'll listen to
Let's just move on. You know, this is.
Can we just find out actually
Bad process.
what would be achievable then? Would it be by the end of the financial year?
Yeah.
Could we get a report on a timeline?
It's this one.
Yeah. Why don't we say here that is a matter of priority. Staff prepare a timeline for scope, site selection, community consultation, but that the council commits to bringing forward funding for the project when it's ready to go.
Yep.
So that we're making a commitment now that we're going to put the money on the budget at the time that the project is ready to go, but we want to create a sense of priority and momentum around it. You know, I think that there's a feeling in Linwood, Woolston, and both Paul and Yanni have really made the case for this, that other pools are getting a priority over this, and this was a priority before the earthquakes, and it was. Very much so. I think I signed the petition myself when I was an MP. So
We don't feel like the Southwest one is getting a priority over this at all.
no.
The Southwest
The thing is that we've got an incredibly challenged city.
No. I'm totally fine with that. I'm
and
totally
in
fine with the Linwood
terms of
Western pool,
facilities,
but it just
and
needs to be achievable.
Now, what about the timeline? Because
and
we'll take that calendar year out, I think.
yeah.
So,
Are we going to mention timeline? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, to prepare a timeline with the high-level scope and site selection for bringing forward funding for the project. Yeah.
Look, I think I can support this, and I'm assuming from staff comments that they can do this. I'm mindful that previously, a few minutes ago, each of us thanked staff for the huge amount of work they've done. And staff have indicated, in fact, this will may put them under pressure. I've gathered that they can do this, but I think it's really important to be mindful of the huge amount of work that our staff have done in the preparation of this annual plan.
We were told that it wasn't to do with money, and it wasn't. So,
yeah.
But it is.
Excuse me, I'm not having a debate about it. So are we good with the phrasing here?
Maybe just have to approach it as a matter of urgency.
That is a matter of urgency rather than priority.
Oh, God, I think we're splitting here.
Matter of urgency. Yeah.
Can I just be clear on that? That doesn't push anything else down the priority list.
No, this is the timeline.
Yeah, the three pools that we're working on, help me here, David, but we've got the Metro, we've got Eastern, we've got Hornby sitting in there already at this point in time.
Mr. Bailey.
So, Mary's definitely been communicating that there are significant challenges at the moment to be involved and deliver some of the work that is currently active. The proposal of being able to prepare a timeline for the high-level scope and site selection, probably excluding the community consultation, and bring that back for endorsement and critique by council so they know when the work's going to be occurring and when we can start funding that work would be achievable. Including community consultation within that phrase up there adds another level.
Well, it's including the process for community consultation.
Okay.
So it's not actually consulting on the timeline, but actually making sure that we can see in the timeline how and when the community will be engaged in the process.
Yep.
Because there was a sense that we could go to the community once rather than twice.
Yeah.
You know, because in the Eastern Sport and Rec, we've gone for site selection, we've gone for scope, you know, and they're separate consultations and we used different processes, and then that created an issue. So I think it would be quite good if we could bring the two together so that scope and site are sort of consulted on at the same time.
Yeah, thanks for that clarity.
Yeah, cool.
So can I just be really clear that doing this does not in any way impact on the speed of the delivery of the Southwest Leisure Centre?
This would have to be new and additional work and not be impacting on the current workloads.
So you can't actually give that guarantee because you don't actually know, because this is like, it's just...
No, we've got money on budget for
but
doing work
we're talking
on
about capacity, not...
Yeah. There's money on budget already.
Yeah, but we're talking about staff.
Should be able to complete this work.
We're talking about staff capacity as well.
Yeah, so that's, if there's funding attached to this to be able to complete the work, then the work can be done.
Okay. All right, so that's that one. And the last one was the... Oh, it's disappeared.
It sort of makes it superfluous, though, if there's money already there and it's already being done. But
the council resolved operational funding support for the Linwood Avenue Transitional Community Pool. Now, we didn't actually know how much money that was, but is that something that you could be able to find within the...
Well, if it was the amount that the community board put forward, has funded in the last few years of 10,000, we could find that.
Right.
So the staff advice is that that'll be $30,000 per annum.
So it's gone up from 10,000 to 30.
Sorry, I'm just reading the advice back from the council staff in response to the community board submission. Should council support this level of service, the resolution should not indicate a potential contractor or a type of organisation. It will require council to set aside $30,000 per annum. So
that's quite a lot to find.
Traditionally, it's been funded out of the community board grant funding.
Yeah, I was just going to say we have the same situation with Pegasus with a $2 pool, and we funded out of our DRF.
All right, so I'm going to have to ask you to move it, Yanni.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do I have a seconder?
I'll second.
Paul, I will put the motion. All those. Yeah.
Sorry. Excuse me, if I could put a comment. With the funding approaches that are occurring at the moment, if council has an operational grant to a facility, effectively contracts a grant, the type of responsibilities that council then holds over the quality of what occurs dramatically shifts, and it shifts into the accountability that the standards of how the service is delivered
which is
can
why
occur
we shouldn't be
differently
doing this.
than when you're dealing with the funding of a volunteer organisation. And so the differences between doing a community board grant
is different from us taking over the operational funding.
Yeah.
So thank you, that's very timely advice. So my recommendation to council is that we do not accept this amendment. So I will put that motion. All those in favour, lift your hand.
Oh, can I withdraw now?
Right. And right, so that's lost. That then brings us to...
Len, did we deal with have we signed this one off though?
Yeah. That one's fine. That goes into the standard amendment. Now I just need some assistance here. Do we now vote on the
mayor's proposal?
On the amendments, or do we
receive it first?
No, do we resume standing orders? Ian, help me. Do we resume standing orders? We've considered the amendments. Or do we need to put them collectively? Yep, yeah. Resume standing orders, and I can come to the first part of the resolution, which is receives the information included in and attached to the staff report. So all we're going to do now, today, is number 1 and number 2. So we're going to receive the information included in and attached to the staff report, and we are going to adopt the Mayor's recommendation set out in Appendix B. And that is where we stop, because the rates impact still has to be worked out and clarified, and we still need to get the audit office report. So that'll come back to the meeting on Thursday, and we'll conclude all of the other items on the agenda as first up. So we'll just adjourn this meeting until Thursday.
And there'll be no more later amendments accepted?
No, you can't. You can't now. They're all dealt with. Right. So I've moved and Raf has seconded the staff recommendations. So
can we ask questions? Like when we're able to ask questions?
We've been through all of this. We agreed a process, Yanni. We agreed a process that we would have a general...
yeah, no, but just in terms of a question on one, like, we haven't had any
We've
chance
received the information and included in the staff, but we've done nothing but discuss this for the last few weeks. I'm at a loss.
Same.
So, in terms of number 1, I just wanted to check, because one of the criticisms that was made through the process was the response back to the individual submitters. So I just wanted to check if we're receiving the information that we've been sent around the staff response to go back to the submitters in more detail. And also, there are a number of submissions that have been made that aren't captured in the staff response, and whether they're going to get an individual response.
Yanni, we agreed a new process around how we were going to report back, that we didn't want we were having a general report back through the this time rather than specific to each individual one, because they weren't, we agreed a process. Okay. We also agreed that we would review the process, which we are in the process of doing at the moment. And all of you have been sent a questionnaire, which I hope you've all filled in. Yep. And I hope you all have filled it in. I've certainly filled mine in. And I know that Di Keenan and some of the team are going to meet with some community representatives tonight to get some community feedback on the process that we used. And I think Pauline raised it in her comments, and I thought they were quite good, that we probably need to get a balance between the standard way and the new way, so that we can actually encourage a wider range of people to engage in ways that are suitable to them, but also have a standard submissions process as well. So it's kind of learning as we're going, but I think we're on track. But I remember receiving a letter back from the council telling me how my individual submission had been dealt with in the past, and it told me nothing. We want to engage a lot more clearly with people and give them some feedback. I think the amendments that we're moving will actually change the nature of what we report back to people quite significantly, because we've picked up so many of the submissions and requesting further reports or amendments to the thing. I think this has been a really much better process than the first annual plan process. Anyway, so...
Excuse me, Leanne,
yes.
we have made that change that we discussed beforehand in your amendments with regards to the DCs. Before we adopt it.
Yes.
Yeah, can we just make sure that amendment
so
has been made?
So can you scroll through? Yeah, so if you could just highlight number, because we did make another amendment, and as I said, some people have made some minor technical amendments to wording without changing anything fundamental, but this one asks for some work to be done on development contributions. Here it is. So review the council's rates postponement policy to ensure the current criteria and conditions are fit for purpose and consistent with the policy's primary objective to assist older residents on fixed incomes, manage their rates liabilities, and investigate whether this is appropriate also for development contributions for the traditional granny flat.
Thank you.
And that has picked up two things. One is Councillor Manji's concerns that with the hardship label applying to the rates postponement policy, that actually it's too hard for people to access something which actually could be made much simpler and much more accessible, and that picks up the DCs on the traditional granny flat as well, because I think that's quite a good point to add.
Thank you.
David, did you?
Yeah, look, just in that additional additional content to your recommendation that's come up today, and the first bullet point there. How do we know, or how do we account for any budget that may necessitate following a regeneration plan?
Sorry?
Well, we're promoting using the Regeneration Act to look at Cranford Street particularly, and flood and estuary edge management issues. Where's the mechanism for a budget for that lie?
Because it depends on who does the consultation. So if it's a Section 71 process, then the engagement will be, the consultation is simply by notification in the newspaper and the calling of submissions, and that's done by the Minister. So, and all of the work has been done on Cranford anyway, so it's all good to go. The strategic partners are all consulted by Regenerate Christchurch, which actually makes the submission through to the Minister. All of the strategic partners have signed off on the change because they're partners to the UDS, I've raised it there as well.
I'm totally comfortable with Cranford.
Yeah, but you're asking about two different processes, because the Greater Christchurch Regeneration Act doesn't just have a regeneration plan as a process. It also allows the Minister to amend the district plan or the regional policy statement, so he can do that. And that may be part of a solution that we're looking for in parts of the area that you're highlighting as well. So we don't know until we get the work done whether it's a Section 71 or whether it's a regeneration plan. And I think that there are components of both areas that would be amenable to both options.
I agree with you entirely there. My question probably stems around when the regeneration plan is complete and it's identified work that needs to be done, what budget do we have to enact a regeneration plan? And
well, in my view, when you're talking about South Shore, South Brighton, and that bit that's north of Bridge Street as well, then you've got the land drainage recovery program. You've got all of the work that's on budget around stormwater, around, the three waters generally. So there are plenty of budgets that the work would be put against. And as you know, this council made a recommendation around some stock bank renewals in part of the area. Just recently. So there is budget available for the work to be done.
Good. Well, I just noted that it's 549,000 on budget in the 2015-16 year that obviously hasn't been used for the boardwalk and car park driveways and paths in the South New Brighton area.
Yeah, well, it may well be that we can do better than that, and to integrate it with the stock banks. That may be part of the solution as well.
That budget that hasn't
but
been
all
expended
of that
will be rolled over.
Because the last thing that I want anyone to leave here thinking is that a regeneration plan will slow things down.
No,
It
it's quite the
speeds
opposite.
things up. It's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It takes us out of the Resource Management Act process and takes us into a much more engaged process with the community.
I'm entirely comfortable and very supportive of that. I just wanted to make sure that once we do a regeneration plan, that it just doesn't sit around because we haven't got any money for
No,
it.
it will have to be, no, it will be a priority, an absolute priority.
Thank you.
Very good. Andrew?
Thank you. I was going to raise the enable issue, but that's now been resolved, so that's good. But just looking at that next paragraph, the council's support for the Akaroa Wairewa Community Board, so if we can just correct the spelling of Wairewa.
Oh.
And if we can get rid of the word key in front of community board members.
Yes.
I think all community board members are made equal. That's fine. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say no. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. And now, would you like me to adjourn the meeting till Thursday? And what, shall I adjourn it to 9:30 or shall I adjourn it to 9 o'clock and we'll deal with this first?
9 o'clock.
Okay, we'll adjourn till 9 o'clock Thursday. Thank you.
Well done.